Hello, everyone. Good evening. Welcome back to Hollywood Purgatory, where the entertainment industry goes to get judged. I'm Jeffrey Harris, 411 Mania. On the other end of the spectrum is Jay Snook of the Good Men Project. Say hi, Jay.
Hello there, everybody. How's it going?
All right, great. So, leading off today, it is the galaxy from a long time ago, far, far away.
In a
I'm
galaxy
talking.
far, far away, yes.
Yeah. Why am I blank? I blanked on
I
it
don't
for a second.
know. For shame. You call yourself a Star Wars
For
fan.
shame on Jeffrey. Oh, just so everyone knows, I'm fully decked out in Houston Astros gear now. In case you didn't know, Houston Astros are the 2017 World Series champion. This is the ALCS Fly the Pennant shirt after they won.
Shirts. I'm just wearing a Majora's Mask Zelda shirt.
That works too.
Yeah,
I love Zelda and Nintendo. That works too. And
I bought it at some con through Shark Robot.
Yeah.
They have a lot of really cool shirts.
What? Oh yeah. So where did you get that shirt from?
Oh, I don't remember which one. I just remember I was at one of the cons.
Okay.
It was LA or Sharkman, and I was like, hey, you know what? They have all these gaming shirts. I'm like, sure, why the heck not? And I bought a couple from them.
Cool. And you know, you got the Nintendo, you got Nintendo mushroom poster at your place. But I'm supporting the Houston Astros, my baseball team. We finally won a World Series after 55 years. So I will listen, when your team wins a world title, you got to milk it, you got to enjoy it because you never know when it's going to happen again, right, Jay?
Yeah, the Giants did it first. Then we won like 3 years pretty close together. So.
Right. So there you go.
So we won more than you. Yeah.
All right. So leading off tonight, we are going to Star Wars. So here's the big news this week. This just came out yesterday, so we're pretty timely with this news.
Mm-hmm.
Rian Johnson, writer-director of Star Wars The Last Jedi, to create all-new Star Wars trilogy. This is straight from StarWars.com, so that means this is official. This is official as it can get. This is straight from the horse's mouth. So I'm just going to read it off here for everyone. For director Rian Johnson, Star Wars The Last Jedi was just the beginning of this journey in a galaxy far, far away. Lucasfilm is excited to announce that Johnson will create a brand new Star Wars trilogy, the first of which he is also set to write and direct. So that means he will, I guess, shepherd this new trilogy, and he will write and direct the first of these 3 new films. So he's only going to write and direct the first one so far. And he's going to be working on these with long-time collaborator Ram Bergman, who is going to produce. As writer-director of The Last Jedi, Johnson conceived and realized a powerful film of which Lucasfilm and Disney are immensely proud. In shepherding this new trilogy, which is separate from the episodic Skywalker saga, so I want to emphasize that. Separate from the episodic Skywalker saga, Johnson will introduce new characters from a corner of the galaxy that Star Wars lore has never before explored. We all loved working with Rian on The Last Jedi, said Kathleen Kennedy, president of Lucasfilm. He's a creative force, and watching him craft The Last Jedi from start to finish was one of the great joys of my career. Rian will do amazing things with the blank canvas of this new trilogy. We had the time of our lives collaborating with Lucasfilm and Disney on The Last Jedi. Johnson and Bergman said in a joint statement, Star Wars is the greatest modern mythology, and we feel very lucky to have contributed to it. We can't wait to continue with this new series of films. Johnson's Star Wars The Last Jedi, December 15th, we know that. No release dates for these new films, and no porgs were available for comment. So that's the StarWars.org story, Jay. So let's just unpack this bit by bit, because I want us to do like a deep dive on this, okay?
Okay. All right.
So, all right. So let's just get to the start of it. This will be a new trilogy, a new film trilogy. Rian Johnson is writing and directing the first film of this new trilogy. So he might not direct the second and third, but as of now, he's directing the first. What do you make of this news?
I definitely think of another trilogy. There's 2 sides of a coin for me.
Okay.
On one hand, it's not a shock with how much Disney's
No.
already made on Star Wars. They want to milk it for all they can, so that makes sense.
I
On the
mean, you
other
have
hand,
to. I mean, when you have a property like this, you have to,
yeah.
you have to exploit it, right?
Now, on another hand, though, it seems like without this trilogy even being done,
Right.
announcing it's a little odd to me. So it could be good thing. It could be a bad thing.
Right. Well, okay. To go with that, we have the next movie coming out December 15th. Okay.
Correct.
Rogue One made over 500 million domestically
True.
and over $1 billion worldwide. I think it's pretty safe to say no matter what happens with this next movie, even if it does like Batman versus Superman Rotten Tomatoes reviews, it's going to make money. I think we can safely say it's going to make money for Disney.
True.
So, and we also know that, look, Disney owns this property, and they bought this property because they wanted to make a continuous stream of Star Wars movies and Star Wars media, right? So I don't think you're wrong in saying I think we do have to wait and see if this turns out to be a good thing or bad thing, because who knows in the long run, right? But you're right. It is not at all surprising that they would announce a new trilogy. But I think it's probably a good thing that they have Rian Johnson on board. Don't you agree?
I want to say yes. Again, until I see the film, I really won't know. But I do know that, oh God, long before we, I think, even saw a trailer, he was already saying that Mark Hamill needs to get the Oscar for his role. Like now, he just needs to get it. So he was saying that.
That's hype, though. It's hard. We need to.
But it was hype from the director, though.
Right. But what director doesn't say things like that, though?
Haven't heard it for Star Wars every day, though.
I think we need to. We'll have a better feeling about this trilogy once we see The Last Jedi. Don't you agree?
True. And so here's a question too, because I've already heard some speculation about what this trilogy could be about. What do you think this trilogy could be about?
Well, I want to. We'll put that aside for a second because that's later in the article. Because we're going to unpack it bit by bit. So we haven't even seen The Last Jedi. So I mean, even though we think it looks good, we don't really know for sure. But this definitely seems to indicate that Lucasfilm is very happy with the film and that they're already getting a guy like Rian Johnson, who was Johnson was a pretty, surging acclaimed filmmaker beforehand. So I think he was a good choice for the franchise.
True,
so
but remember though that the prequel trilogy, I didn't hate it, but a lot of fans weren't happy with it.
Yeah. I wasn't happy with it either. What are your feelings on the prequels?
I didn't hate it. Of course, Jar Jar was annoying, but who didn't think that?
Right.
And of course, seeing that Jar Jar screwed everybody in a weird way actually made sense.
Right.
And I didn't hate it. I mean, like, it was 2 and 3 were better because it wasn't so special effecty nuts. It wasn't as bad as 1. 1 was like they boast about like the most special effects.
Pretty. I don't know. The special effect, the abundance in the second and third definitely hurt them to me. Also,
I thought it was worse in number 1, to be honest.
Also, let's not ignore Hayden Christensen's performance as Anakin Skywalker and his chemistry or lack thereof with Natalie Portman's Padme. So those are kind of.
When I watched it, I didn't notice. I was just like, "Hey, it's a new Star Wars."
also, Metachlorians.
What about it?
Did we really need to hear about Metachlorians? Come on.
Well, we didn't really know much about it from 4, 5, 6. Was that crazy to know a bit more about it?
There was nothing in 4, 5, and 6 about Metachlorians.
I want to say it had to come up somewhere. Like, didn't
it came out, in Phantom Menace.
No, but I mean, like, in 4, 5, 6, didn't they have to talk something about it? Like, either Ben or Yoda or somebody?
Yeah, they talk about the Force. It binds us in all things.
Well, I really liked where Palpatine told the story about his master. I love that.
That was in Revenge of the Sith, and yes, that is. I would say that is the best scene in Revenge of the Sith. Just because it does add a nice bit of mythology.
I personally like that fight with Ben and Anakin. That was great, I thought. And you got to see how he became Vader.
You mean, yeah, Obi-Wan.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Okay. Yeah. So here. Now, I'm not saying it's the same, but here's one comparison I kind of want to draw. After Man of Steel, Warner Brothers locked up Zack Snyder to basically be their architect of the DCEU, the DC like film universe. And remember, he was supposed to do Batman versus Superman, Justice League, and Justice League Part 2. They were going to do Justice League as a two-parter, remember? They were really high on Zack Snyder, and then what happened? Batman versus Superman came out, underperformed, did terrible with critics, got a negative reception with fans, and now they were scrambling to course correct on everything. And here was the other deal. Remember Ben Affleck? He was right before Batman versus Superman came out. They were quick to get Ben Affleck to a long-term deal, and the deal was Ben Affleck would write, direct, produce, and star in the new Batman movie. Remember? Now, I don't even think he's coming back. I think it's very So here's what I posit to you. Are they being a little premature to set this deal up before The Last Jedi has even come out and gone out into the world, been viewed by fans and critics? We don't really know. I mean, we assume it's going to be a great film and we're going to have fun watching it, but it hasn't been put out to the world yet. So we don't really know how it's going to respond. So are you saying this deal was maybe a tad premature, like a few weeks?
And you know what? Hollywood has done this all the time. They did it with Independence Day Resurgence. They did it with Battleship. They did it with a bunch of movies. We're like, we're going to set up another one already, and then it doesn't. Even actually what happened recently.
Dark Universe.
Yeah, that's an example. They're like, we're going to do a bunch of these movies. Didn't make enough. Well, that's not happening anymore. So,
right.
Because the thing is, I really liked Force Awakens, but some fans, including my dad, did not. They were not.
I love Force Awakens,
but a lot of fans thought it was just like the first film, A New Hope 2.0, which in a way it kind of was.
Yeah, I mean we've talked about that on here, haven't we? And why we don't feel that way? I think.
I don't know. Maybe we have.
I believe we have.
There were fans that thought that, and there were already fans who are thinking, you know what, Last Jedi is going to be like Empire, which maybe it will be, maybe it won't. We'll see.
I mean, to me, that's not the problem, but I think there is an argument here that maybe we need to wait and see how the world responds to the Last Jedi. Now, that being said, I mean,
not just that, but the 9th film too.
Yeah, but I mean, these films I think are going to make money no matter what. I think it's a safe bet.
I agree, but the point is because the thing is, when Hollywood jumps and goes, we know it's going to make a lot of money. You don't know. Like before Rogue One came out, I had no idea if it was going to be. But who knew?
The prequels did not do very well with critics, and they still made money because they're Star Wars, and people still went to see them. And here we are, 10 years later, they released a new movie. They're releasing new movies like every year. And Star Wars is still a viable commodity. It's a brand.
True.
So, and it's in TVs, it's in movies, video games, merchandise, theme park, and now we're getting theme parks. So the prequels didn't kill Star Wars. It wasn't. Some of the prequels, I would argue, are bad films, but they weren't enough to kill this brand.
True.
Jay.
True.
It wasn't enough. So I feel even I find it very unlikely The Last Jedi is a bad film.
I do too.
I mean, I'm not saying there's no chance it could be, but I think it looks good, and I think Rian Johnson, I think he's a competent, talented filmmaker, and I think he's gonna give us at least I think a good film.
True. But what annoys me about this announcement personally?
Okay, go ahead.
is there's just so much speculation right now. Like, it'd be nice if there was more, if they had done it, like, let's say a year or two later, where, hey, this was going to be, rather than, oh, we're doing this, but we're not going to tell you anything about it, or when it is, or what it's going to be about, or any of that stuff. Just Rian Johnson's directing it, doing a trilogy. When it'll come out, well, who knows? I don't like stuff like that personally.
Yeah, I like we don't. Look, I would have. Here's when I would have made this announcement. I would have made this announcement at the next celebration.
Or D23.
Well, D23 won't be
2019.
Won't be, yeah. But
because by then, well, maybe even the one after that. I don't know,
right.
Because
so like the producer he's working with is Ram Bergman. He's worked with Rian Johnson on, let's see. He worked on The Last Jedi. He worked on Brick, Selfless. So he's worked with Rian Johnson. Oh, he worked on Looper with him. Do you think he's a good? It's good that he's still partnering with Rian Johnson for these films.
Looper, but didn't Looper bomb?
I don't think it bombed. I think it did well. I think it did okay.
Well, I heard that they were going to do a sequel for that too, but they didn't because it didn't do as well as they wanted it to.
Probably. I mean, then it probably underperformed. Let's see. It made 176 million worldwide, 66 million domestic. So it didn't bomb, but it didn't do huge. It probably didn't do huge business, but it did okay.
I think they considered it to bomb though because they wanted to do a sequel.
I mean, Hollywood accounting, you can do a lot of things, but
fair enough.
All right, so let's continue going down this announcement. So here's kind of the interesting thing. So this new trilogy is separate from the episodic Skywalker saga. So basically, what's considered to be the episodes, Jay, this is the Skywalker saga. 4, 5, 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, and 6, and now 7, 8, 9. This is all part of the Skywalker saga.
Okay.
And Johnson will introduce new characters from a corner of the galaxy that Star Wars lore has never been explored before. So what do you make of that news, and do you think this is a positive move for the franchise?
I think it's going to probably be it sounds like it's going to be a prequel then. I just have to take a guess.
Right.
And I actually heard something interesting that it's been explored because first of all, nowadays with Star Wars, it almost seems like it's impossible because they've explored so much. I mean, the books alone have gone hundreds of years in the past,
right?
But hundreds of years in the future, right?
Look, once Disney bought the franchise, they reset the continuity. So
I agree, but I'm just saying, it's hard to say we're going to touch a part of lore that's never been touched before when it's touched so much already.
Well, that's technically,
because there's how many books that have nothing to do with Skywalker saga at all.
There are plenty, but those
and then there's comics as well.
Yeah, but those books don't matter anymore.
I understand that, but I'm just saying, it's hard to say we're going to touch something that's never been touched before when when the universe is so big. How could you? Because even when they did Rogue One may not have had to do with
there are new sort of, with the revised timeline, there are new sort of there are new checkpoints. So there are new checkpoints, and in those new checkpoints, there are blanks they can fill in. If we're going back thousands of years before the Phantom Menace, but we have no idea.
Well, I heard a speculation. I heard a speculation it might be the Old Republic, which I don't know much about, but I know they did at least one game of it, right?
That's speculation, though, Jay. I mean, what is speculation at the end of the day? What does that even mean?
It just means something that people want to see, but who knows if they will or won't.
So, in other words, it doesn't mean a daggum thing, Jay, because we're just speculating. We're spitballing here, and it's fun to speculate. But that doesn't have anything to do with the facts.
But if you think about, though, what it said in the thing, doesn't that sound like it could be a plausible speculation?
All it says is that it will be new characters from a corner of the galaxy that has never been explored before. That means to me, it could be something that's taking place concurrently.
Okay.
It could be something concurrently to the current trilogy. It could be after, for all we know, because these films will not happen until when the current trilogy is over. They're going to happen after episode 9. Think about that.
Okay.
So
but it'd be hard to do. It'd be hard to do anything after episode 9.
No,
not impossible, but hard to do without Skywalkers being somewhere. Because we know the Skywalkers lived on even after, like, Luke had a son eventually. You know,
no, we don't. We don't know that at all.
Didn't he have, like, with Mara Jade, he had a son?
Yeah. In Legends is not on the table anymore. Legends is it's gone. It's erased.
I think when they say
Mary
that,
Jade, look. Look. Mary Jade. There's no Mary Jade. There's no there's no Luke Skywalker Jr. that we. I mean, I'm not gonna say never, but look, the expanded universe, the old expanded universe, is not relevant anymore. It's not. They will take characters from the expanded universe and concepts, which they have done. They have taken names, concepts, and characters and various things as part of the new continuity that we are in right now, like Grand Admiral Thrawn. But Grand Admiral Thrawn, he was a villain in a sequel book trilogy by Timothy Zahn that took place after Return of the Jedi. Okay, now Thrawn is around like before A New Hope. We don't know where he is even after that. So my point is, expanded universe doesn't matter anymore. But what do you think about getting new characters that have nothing to do with the established characters we know of? So it won't be the Skywalker family. I mean, Han Solo's already dead. It won't involve Luke Skywalker or presumably anyone from the Skywalker line. It could still have Jedi for all we know.
Probably will.
Okay.
Because even Rogue One had Jedi, kind of.
No, it didn't.
Yeah, it did. The blind guy was considered himself a Jedi.
He wasn't a Jedi.
He didn't have a lightsaber, but he considered himself a Jedi.
No, he was a guardian of the Wills. Okay.
He still believed he was a Jedi.
That's not. No, that doesn't count.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Whenever he did that,
Chirrut Imwe was not a Jedi. He wasn't even a Force user.
Yes, he was.
No, that's not the Force. That's not how the Force works.
How the heck do you know?
He is a guardian of the will. It says here in his profile, he's a guardian of the Wills.
I still think he was a Jedi.
I'll go to StarWars.com.
Look, I still think he was a Jedi. He may not have had a lightsaber, but not all Jedis have lightsabers, right?
Oh, come on.
Seriously, they didn't all have lightsabers.
That's not. He lacks Force abilities. He's a warrior monk. Star Wars, this is the StarWars.com databank. He does not, he lacks Force abilities. He's not a Jedi, okay? They never call, he's a guardian, he's from the Guardian of the Wills, from that Force worshiping church. He's not a Jedi. You can't just, that's like calling Han Solo a Jedi and in The Force Awakens, because now he believes in the Force and junk. No. Okay, we're all right. But
fine. Moving on. Fine.
All right, new set of characters. It'll be a new set of characters. I think I want to see. Here's what I feel. I want to see a new set of characters. I want a new corner of the universe. Really, I want something. I feel if it's very far removed, even if it's a prequel, if it's very far removed from the last prequel trilogy and the original trilogy, I think that's good. I think we need to take Star Wars. I think we need to see new things. You know.
Now, do you think it should be in the future or the past? What do you think?
On a personal level, I want it in the future, because then we have no. Here's why, and I'll tell you why. Because then there are no rules, and we have no idea like what'll happen. My problem with the prequels is I don't really want. We know certain things have to happen, right?
Sure.
Like we know like Anakin Skywalker will have twin children, right? We know the Empire will, the Emperor will take over and take power and destroy the Republic, right? We know certain things have to happen. We know the Jedi Order is going to fall. So I feel like if it takes place like later on in the future, then we don't know what's going. We have even less of an idea of what's going to happen.
But isn't also true though if we did something, because like it seems like there's more possibility of unknowns in the past though, right?
Possibly yes, but we still know that at some point the Republic has to be established and there's a fully like functional Jedi Order. We know that we know that the Sith were at one point in a very deadly power struggle and conflict with the Jedi.
True.
And we know there was the Sith established a rule of two and they went into hiding for like 1,000 years before the Phantom Menace. So we know things like that.
True, but there's also a lot more possibility. Like even like with Rogue One, they took a chapter out of that took place before the first Star Wars movie and made it work.
We knew in Rogue One, we knew that rebels had to steal the Death Star plans and get them to Princess Leia before A New Hope.
True, but we didn't know about the dad. We didn't know about the daughter. We didn't know really much about.
Yeah, they're new characters, but we knew they were basically on a suicide mission to steal the Death Star plans and get them to the Rebel Alliance.
True. What I'm saying is with that movie, they took one chapter out of like another story entirely.
But here's my point. We know the end game. In Rogue One, we know what the end game is. If this is a sequel set after Episode 9, we don't know what the end game is going to be, Jay. And that's why I would personally prefer for it to be set after the current trilogy is over. I'm not saying that's what they're going to do, and I'm not going to say that's what they should do. That's just personal preference. Okay. I like the sequels because we don't really know. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know who Snoke is. We don't know where he came from. We don't know. We still don't even know where Rey came from. We have theories. We have some vague ideas, but we don't really know. We don't know what's going to happen to the First Order. But we know if this is set before the Phantom Menace, we know like there's a Jedi Order. We know that at the time of the Phantom Menace, the Jedi are in power. The Republic is in power, but there is still Sith lurking around in the background trying to manipulate events. We know that Anakin Skywalker is born and he's like the child of prophecy. Now, my point is, if this is another set of prequels, I just want it to be far away from everything. So we can't even make predictions, but we'll see. So let's go deeper onto this thing. So here's Kathleen Kennedy made her comments. Now here's what I also want to bring up. So they've hired it. They've announced and hired a new director for a new movie. What's kind of happened multiple times when they've done this? What happens to these directors, Jay?
What happened with 9? At least a few times the director got fired, right?
Yeah. It happened with Episode 9. They fired Colin Trevorrow and replaced him with J.J. Abrams. What happened with the Han Solo movie?
Yeah, same thing. The guy got fired.
Well, it was two guys. It was Phil Lord and Chris Miller from the Lego movie. They got fired during production. They were midway through production, and then they got fired and were replaced by Han Solo. Josh Trank, who was rumored he was already announced to direct a new movie. It was rumored to be the Boba Fett movie. That was never confirmed, but we knew he was going to direct one. What happened to him?
Yeah, he got fired.
He got fired. So, Rian Johnson, he did not get fired from The Last Jedi, but maybe is this an argument why such an announcement like this might be premature?
Wasn't it possible? I thought that at one time they maybe thought that Rian Johnson was going to do 9 as well. Did they change their minds there somewhere along the line?
No, it never. I think there was talk that people wanted him to do it after after Trevorrow got fired, but no.
Okay.
There was never anything official.
Okay. Well, anyways, yeah. So the point is, and it's a good point, is he may be announced now, then maybe he'll get fired. Who knows? Just the way it's
Right, right. So I think there might be something to your point that maybe wait until after the movie comes out. Wait till Celebration, or wait to, as you said, D23.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because Lucasfilm is happy now, but you know, look, we saw with Zack Snyder and Warner Brothers, there was some buyer's remorse after Batman versus Superman came out.
Actually, a better example is when Disney got a hold of the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe series. They were so excited. They made a bunch of money with the Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Right.
Prince Caspian didn't as well, so they cut the cord with the series.
Right, and then another studio did the third one,
Yeah,
which didn't do, but they are making the fourth. They are making the fourth Chronicles of Narnia. I think
really?
Joe Johnston is directing it. I don't know how they got the financing for it, but they are making it.
And the problem is too when Hollywood does that sometimes, because like even look at like from the first Percy Jackson, the Olympiads, the Lightning Thief, and the second one, the Sea of Monsters.
Right.
They tried to push it, make it happen anyway. And I'm sorry, Sea of Monsters was not as good as the Lightning Thief.
Yeah, but the Lightning Thief didn't do very well. It didn't. It didn't really.
True, but I enjoyed that one though. At least when I saw Sea of Monsters, even Nathan Fillion didn't save Sea of Monsters.
Here's my point. Here's my point with the Lightning Thief. The movie got bad reviews, and it didn't really. I mean, it did worse, I would say, than Looper, because Lightning Thief cost $90 million and only made $88 million domestic. It didn't do great overseas, so I feel that was in its where they had a lukewarm reception to the original film, and then they tried to force it as a franchise, and it didn't work. So, but as for Chronicles of Narnia, Joe Johnston, who directed The Rocketeer and Captain America: The First Avenger, he's directing The Silver Chair. So the thing about that, like, the last two movies have not done very well, but they're still going to make a fourth film for the Chronicles of Narnia.
Yeah, we'll see how that works.
But yeah, but Disney did basically have to abandon that franchise after the second movie because Prince Caspian did not do very well. And look, with Star Wars, again, it's a pretty safe bet that all of them are going to make money. But I just hope The Last Jedi is good and there are no problems. So Johnson will be free to do what he wants to do with this next set of films.
I think when it comes to Disney and Star Wars, they're doing good so far, but they need to be careful not to overplay their hand. Because if they overplay their hand too much, eventually, because even like with like Pixar, they've done that before. They've done like they've done a good movie. Like that year they did The Good Dinosaur and I think Zootopia the same year.
Right. That wasn't Pixar.
It was really good. Pixar, but it's still a part of Disney. Disney has a partnership with them. So anyway, my point here is that Zootopia was amazing. Good Dinosaur was okay, but it wasn't as good. So if they overplay their hand and are doing too many projects at once, Disney's always going
to have a movie the same year as Pixar.
But I mean,
it happens multiple times.
But I mean, if they overplay their hand to do too many things at once, and like are focusing on too many things at once, it's possible to eventually do a bad one. It's just the reality.
Well, I don't think you're wrong, but I think here's my point. Eventually, you're gonna have bumps in the road, no matter what. You're gonna have hits and misses. You're never. To use a baseball analogy, you're not going to hit a home run every time you're at bat. Sometimes you're going to hit a single, sometimes you're going to hit a double, or sometimes you're going to strike out. It's going to happen. Now, look, DC and Warner Brothers, they were not having a good batting average at first. But then what happened this year? They had Wonder Woman. And look at how well Wonder Woman has done. And now we have Justice League coming out next week. So so that's kind of the main thing here. We're going to get another trilogy of live action films after the current trilogy. Rian Johnson is going to shepherd the trilogy, and he will write and direct the first one. So that's what we're looking at now. Now, amidst all of the other news, another big piece of news came out today. Bob Iger, the Disney CEO, announced the TV series, and that came out, I believe, that came out yesterday. So here is the bit of business. Disney is planning a live-action. This is from Variety, by the way. Disney is planning a live-action Star Wars TV series to air on its streaming service that is expected to launch by the end of 2019. So we already knew Disney was planning to do its own subscription streaming TV service that they want to launch at the end of 2019. So that'll be 2 years from now.
Okay.
So they'll have this streaming service up, and it will be. Hold on. It will be a live-action Star Wars TV series. So outside of the fact that it's live action, it's a TV series, and it will be on the Disney streaming service. That's all we know.
Okay,
so what do you make of this news?
Well, I thought I remember it had to be a year or two ago. I thought they tried to do something like that on Netflix, and I think it fell apart. No. I remember hearing something.
Yeah, there was a TV series that was announced in 2005 by George Lucas. It never got off the ground, though.
Hasn't there been like whispers since then, though? Because I could have sworn I saw like one time I thought it was a trailer.
I mean, no, nothing official. I think when you have a deal like this, it was inevitable. So, because look, like, they already had animated TV. I think it was inevitable they wanted. Lucasfilm had tried for many years to do a live-action TV series, but it never materialized.
The Ewok Adventure specials; those were kind of weird, though, to be honest.
I mean, those were Ewok TV movies, you know.
Yeah.
And those came out during the '80s, Jay.
Yeah, but I know that when it comes to live action, they've talked about doing that for a long time.
Yeah, a long time, but nothing ever. This is now we know they want. So look, Disney has a new streaming service. What is going to sell, like, you know, a subscription premium service? Like, hey, this is the only place you can watch a Star Wars TV series. You have to subscribe and pay for this per month to get this show. Kind of like Star Trek Discovery on CBS All Access. Is this a good move by Disney and Lucasfilm?
I don't know. It's hard because, like, again, when it comes to me for this show, I need to know more. Because, like, because if it's like a show, let's say about, like, I don't know, God, what would be a good premise? I want to say Boba Fett, but that's not true.
What if it was about bounty, like a group of bounty hunters, not just Boba Fett?
Maybe. I mean, it's just like if I were, like, you know, a normal person, I was like, hey, you know, they've got this new streaming service. I would need to know, hey, like good example, like they're doing the 3rd season of Young Justice on that Warner Brothers streaming service, whatever it is.
I thought it was Netflix.
No, that's not Netflix. No, it's some Warner Brothers streaming service.
See, I haven't even heard.
Like CWC or something like that.
Oh, the new Warner Brothers Digital Network.
Which is like CWC.
Oh my God! How many of these things are they going to have?
A lot, but what my point is, like, when I hear that, I go, hey, I like season 1 and 2 of Young Justice. I want to see season 3.
Right.
And I know it's going to be,
season 2 ended on a cliffhanger.
It did. And it's funny though, Netflix is what kind of helped them get the season 3. At least it's one of the things.
Right.
But like when it comes to like a show on a streaming service, like Netflix, of course. Netflix, like, you know, when it first came out, they started doing their own shows.
Right.
You're like, hey, you know, is this a show I even want to watch? Does it sound interesting to me? And of course, now they prove with Marvel, they know what they're doing for the most part.
Right.
But like, it's a show that, like, you want to know more about the show, not just, hey, we're doing this show about Star Wars. Okay, what about Star Wars? Because there's a lot of Star Wars to touch, right?
Well,
and again, a show is different.
This new streaming service will also launch with a Marvel series too.
Of course,
an original Marvel show. And we don't know anything about it either.
And of course, like even like when they did like Clone Wars and now Rebels, you know, you want to know at least a basic gist of, hey, what is this show about?
But
right?
all right, but like now here's my problem now. Now like Disney's getting into the premium service, like HBO, like YouTube is doing it.
Amazon, of course, Amazon Prime.
YouTube Red, Amazon Prime, Hulu's doing it. I mean, the whole idea of like cord cutting is you're cutting the cord to kind of, you know, get your content elsewhere because you're not getting your content from, you're not getting like the content you want from cable and satellite.
Mm-hmm.
And like one subscription service might offer a lot of content, but then like they're trying to sell you on these other subscription streaming services with their content, but they're trying to give you content you can't get anywhere else. So now you have to pay, like if you want Stranger Things, you have to pay your what, $9.99 a month for Netflix, right?
Yeah,
or $8.99, something like that.
Something like that.
Then now you want Star Wars the TV show. You're going to have to pay Disney whatever they want. Then you want whatever shows you like on Amazon Prime. You got to pay your Amazon Prime subscription. So now you're paying all these different monthly subscriptions, and it's like now all this money you wanted to save by cutting your cable service, are you even really saving money anymore? So it's problematic to me that all these media companies are setting up their own sub-services, and now they're just too many. Because, excuse me, the problem I see here is that there's no way to bundle these sub-services, is there? So it's like, to me, this is a real problem right now if you want to watch these shows. So, I mean, is it gonna get to a point where you basically have to get a cable service for the sub-services, or get them bundled or something? Because I mean, man. Like, have you heard about that Movie Pass service where you pay like?
I have, yes.
You pay that subscription and you can.
Yeah,
I
know people in my town who are doing that and they love it. But yeah, I've heard of it.
I think we're gonna need something like that, but with the streaming channels at some point, you know?
Eventually, yeah.
I got to be honest. I'm not interested in paying for. I want to watch these shows, but beyond like Netflix and Amazon Prime, I'm not really interested in getting any more subscriptions. Jay, how about you?
Me either. Like, when it comes to the CW Seed and of course CBS Access, I don't like them doing that because like really there's like, well, how much to watch this show other than that? And again, like right now with CBS Access, for all I know, I think Star Trek Discovery is the only one in there so far. I think I could be wrong. And for CW Seed, I mean, so far it's just like, you know, again, one show to bring back for the third season, which instead of bringing it on Netflix, which makes sense because season 1 and 2, you know, was on Netflix and it's what got people jazzed for the show again, got the third season in the first place. And now, of course, you know, they're announcing they're going to put other shows on instead of where it was before, like Netflix. They're going to put it now on their streaming service. It's like, well, is this going to be harder to watch it now? So it's more problematic than good. It's just the reality.
So there will be a new Marvel show on this streaming service. The talk now is that all future, I guess, Marvel shows would be on the Disney streaming service, but they don't say what's going to happen to the Netflix shows. The Punisher, we know the Punisher is coming on this month on Netflix. Daredevil is getting a third season. Luke Cage, Iron Fist, Jessica Jones, they're all getting second seasons on Netflix. But it doesn't say anything about what's going to happen with the future of those shows and Defenders on Netflix, which the thing that's interesting about this is Netflix co-produced all those shows. They invested money in them, and they might have, I don't know if they do, they might have exclusivity over some of those products.
And you know what's kind of a bummer about this whole thing with Netflix and Disney anyway is like this is happening because some tiff between Netflix and Disney where like I guess Disney didn't like what they were doing or something like that is why they're doing their.
I haven't heard about that. I think, well, no, I think what it is, Jay, is I think Disney wants to do what Netflix is doing.
But this did come out of some kind of tiff between Disney and Netflix because like where
was that? I never heard about that.
It's online. You can find it because what happened was I think Disney was getting mad because either Netflix wasn't having enough of their stuff on there, or they would delete it after a while, or something like that. Which is why Disney's doing their streaming service in the first place. Because they're like, that's why they're like, hey, we're doing our own service now. You know, like forget you, Netflix. That's why.
I haven't heard anything. I haven't heard any sort of conflict between
There was
them.
something like that, though. You can find it online because there was something like that.
All I can think is that Disney is probably jealous of the Netflix model and how much money Netflix makes.
I don't know. Maybe it's hard to say. Maybe.
And they want. And look, I mean, I guess the future of media is streaming media content, and Disney wants to get on board with that. But
everybody is clearly.
But now everyone's doing it, and now everyone's charging their own monthly fee, and that's going to be way too much after a while. You know, that's my fear with all of this. I'm not looking to add a couple more paid subscription services. You know, even if they have decent content, just so I can get a couple shows that I would want to watch, and that only happen once a year. You know, the movies and stuff, I might already own them on Blu-ray or whatever, and have them on my and they have and they give you the digital copy. So I probably already have those on Vudu or whatever in terms of the movies. All right, so moving on from that, here's the next thing I want to talk about, and this is Disney related, but it's kind of away from Star Wars. So there were reports, and this came from CNBC. So this isn't some like random blogger talking about this. Basically, there was talks of Disney buying 20th Century Fox. And what I mean by that is the talk was that the Walt Disney Company would acquire 20th Century Fox. They would acquire, 20th Century Fox, the movie studio, the Fox Television Production Company, and the FX Network's National Geographic Star and Sky. Here is what the deal would exclude. FYI, Fox and all of its sort of satellite companies and affiliates are owned by a News Corp. Fox News, the Fox Broadcast Network, local affiliates, and Fox Sports Programming. So basically, this deal, News Corp would basically unpack like 20th Century Fox and Fox TV production, but they would keep like Fox, the news channels, and Fox Sports, basically. So they would keep like news, sports, and the Fox network.
You know what's really crazy about this story when it comes down to it?
What?
Is all the kind of like stories that have come out of it, like, hey, what's going to happen to Deadpool 2? Are X-Men and Avengers going to go head-to-head now? Is Simpsons going to finally get canceled? I've seen all these things pop up there. I've seen all this stuff pop up where you're like, man, it's just, you know, all this like just like stories kind of spewing from this one main story of like what's going to happen here or there or up or down. It's just crazy.
Well, look, it's interesting because right now Disney owns all of Marvel. Okay, Marvel Entertainment is a subsidiary of the Walt Disney Company. 20th Century Fox does not own, but they control the live-action film rights for the X-Men and Mutants. That includes Deadpool, Wolverine, the X-Men, the Fantastic Four, and the Fantastic Four family of characters. So they have those. Just the film rights, okay? They don't own those characters. They just control the film rights of those characters.
Now, when they did Legion and The Gifted, though, isn't that a part in their net of rights too? Or am I wrong?
Well, that's their co-produce. No, they had to work out a deal with Disney, a co-production deal for those TV shows, because they didn't have
for Legion and The Gifted. Really?
Correct, because they didn't own the live-action TV rights for X-Men or Mutants. They had to work out a deal with Disney and Marvel to get those shows done. So obviously, the good part of this, the deal is not done. The deal is far from a sure thing. So let's get that out there. But the reason comic fans would want to see this deal go through is because then Disney would once again control the film rights to X-Men or Fantastic Four, etc. Because, look, maybe you don't like the last Fantastic Four movie. You want to see Marvel make their own films or adaptations with the Fantastic Four. And maybe you think the X-Men have hit a wall with 20th Century Fox. Maybe you disagree, Jay. I certainly thought Deadpool and Logan were great films.
True, but then X-Men Apocalypse was terrible. So
right. Are you looking forward to the X-Men Dark Phoenix movie?
You mean Supernova? I don't know.
Is that what they're calling it?
Well, I think so, and I don't know. Not really. I mean, because I did like First Class. I did like Days of Future Past, but yeah, Apocalypse was very, very atrocious.
I love Deadpool, right? You like Deadpool.
Yeah, I agree.
I want to see Deadpool too.
Of course.
I liked Logan.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, but Logan was like the last one, right?
I think so.
For Wolverine.
Yeah.
So I don't really think Fox can do much else with the X-Men stuff other than Deadpool, to be honest with you.
Yeah, unless they did what they did with First Class and revamp them all again, which they could do eventually.
Yeah, but come on. If anyone revamped them, I would want to see Marvel do it.
Yeah. Marvel seems to have a better idea what they're doing with their products. That's just the reality for the most part.
Look, Thor Ragnarok just opened. It got like 93% on Rotten Tomatoes, and it opened over 120 million.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
yeah.
Call it a formula, Jay, but I think Marvel knows the secret sauce, and they know how to do it pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
I think
they do. I agree.
I thought Deadpool was great, but I think with the main X-Men films, I'm just not sure what Fox is doing. Mm-hmm. Now, look, the New Mutants might surprise us all. It certainly looks different.
I will say I was very surprised with Legion. I haven't watched The Gifted yet, but I was surprised with Legion.
Right. However, under this deal, they could still keep making Gifted and Legion, because they would buy the TV production company, and they could still keep producing those shows if they wanted, probably.
What I don't like about this news is, first of all, Disney owns so much already, and I get they want to own more and make more money, but it seems like it's taken a step too far where eventually Disney might as well just own everything if they're going to keep going because it looks like that's what they're doing.
Well, look, they already own, in terms of the Marvel characters, they already own them. They just would get the film rights back.
And then they've got Lucasfilm now, which is just as much as Marvel, if not pretty dang close.
Here's what I don't love about the deal. I don't love the idea that Disney would be allowed to own a TV production company. They wouldn't own the Fox network, the TV network, because I don't think the federal government would allow Disney to own ABC and Fox.
Probably not, because they already they have like 4 or 5 stations already, so yeah.
They own ESPN, they own ABC, they own Freeform.
Well, they have Freeform, they have Disney XD, they have Disney Junior, they have Disney Channel, they have ABC, so that's already a bunch. And they have a radio station too.
The federal government would not allow them to own both ABC and Fox. I don't think that would.
Probably not.
But Fox, the basic Fox TV network, would not be included in this deal. However, I'm not crazy about the idea of them owning 20th Century Fox, Yeah. That could really harm the film industry. What would happen?
It's not just that. It's kind of like what you're saying is like, it's kind of like leans toward a monopoly, and I don't really think we need that from anybody.
Well, it's a good argument. It's a good argument. I would just want to see them get the film rights back for X-Men and Fantastic Four. But I'm not sure if it's a good thing for the industry, for the media industry, whatever you want to call it, if they were to own 20th Century Fox and the other cable networks, if they got FX, FXX, because I feel, and there's still the possibility, if this deal were to go through, that the government could block it, because they could investigate it and see it as a violation of antitrust.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think that's sadly actually pretty plausible. It sounds like it to me. It just does.
It's plausible because look, they have so many corners of the industry beyond just film and TV.
And of course, they're expanding now with the streaming service now and God knows what else.
Right. I think Disney also has a stake in Hulu as well, don't they?
You might be right. I'm not sure, but you might be right.
I think Hulu has joint ownership.
Maybe. I'm not sure about that one.
I'm trying to look up the ownership. Okay.
They've of course got movies.
So let me break down the ownership of Hulu. So 30% of Hulu is NBC Universal, 30% is Fox Entertainment, 30% is Disney ABC, and 10% is Turner. So it's a joint. So Hulu is like a joint ownership deal between several entertainment conglomerates.
So if they bought Fox, they'd be majority, wouldn't they? For Hulu, wouldn't they?
I guess that would technically make them 60% owners. Yeah.
And that would tip the scale. So
I don't know if that would. I mean, I don't know if the federal government would have a say in that. But
I think they would go, wait a minute, because
however, Disney could also sell off part of its ownership of Hulu as well. They could try that.
Maybe, but how much original content they do on Hulu? Do they do anything?
They do original content. Yeah, I couldn't tell you how much is original, but like
what shows? I mean, like on Hulu.
Future Man. Future Man is an original show.
That's Disney.
That's not Disney. Oh, what is Disney's original content for Hulu?
Yeah.
Oh, that I couldn't tell you. Off the top of my head.
I don't know either. I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
But like, the conflict here is like, I like Disney's products. I like the brands they own, but I'm fearful of what if this deal were to happen. And let's be honest, this deal is not a done deal. It might not even go off. You know, it might not go through. But I'm fearful that it could be further towards a monopoly for.
Yeah, and I think it's a. Yeah, because I talked to some people about this, and yeah, I think it definitely looks like it's leaning that way.
Or maybe not a monopoly, but I guess you would call it an oligopoly, where instead of one,
they've got what 4 or 5 parks in the world now.
Theme parks?
Yes.
Well, theme parks a different thing, but
it's still a thing that they have. I'm just saying, like, they already have so much. And again, it could also boil down to if you get another thing, what if it tips the scales and they kind of like, can't control it all? What if that happens?
I mean, I think they have the money. They have the capital.
The money isn't an issue. No. The money's not an issue. No. Yeah, they're
if they bought all these other companies, would they be spreading themselves too thin?
That's what I think.
I think that's a definite issue as well. But how arguably they've done well after the Lucasfilm and Marvel purchases, which they purchased for bargain prices, I believe.
But you have to remember, though, because they had a hand in Inhumans and Iron Fist, right?
Right.
That was an example being stretched too thin. Those 2 shows right there.
I mean, look, those are Marvel's shows more in Disney, Marvel, not Disney, ABC and Marvel more than like Disney. But look, there are big conglomerates that can have like many different subsidiaries, and
many of them now do. Look like but
like they already do. I mean, look, they own ESPN, and look, they some of these companies sort of run themselves just under the Disney banner. So I am worried it would be too much, though.
I think it would be too.
Because look, they have TV, they have film production, TV production. Now they're doing streaming, which they already do with Hulu.
Yeah.
They have theme parks. They have consumer products. Yeah, I'm just worried this would be too much.
I think so too.
So as much as I want to see Marvel get the X-Men and Fantastic Four back, I don't know. It's tough.
They need to get it back because I don't think any of those Fantastic Four
think it's
done that well, have they?
I think it's complicated, Jay. I think it's complicated, and
Yeah.
I'm not saying I have all the answers here either. You know, but let's keep an eye on this. This deal isn't official yet.
Yeah, it's not set in stone yet.
CNBC says pencils aren't down on the deal. It does. Here's another quote. It does appear, at the very least, they have not abandoned the idea of that combination. So we'll see what happens with this. Yeah. All right. So moving on from that, there were a couple movies you saw you wanted to.
Well, first of all, should we talk about the next 2 episodes of Star Wars Rebels?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Star Wars Rebels. Excuse me. So yeah, we got two more episodes of Star Wars Rebels this week. We got all right. Well, speaking of an expanded universe, we got the return of another expanded universe character named Rukh, voiced by. Do you know who voiced that character?
I read it. I want to say Dante Bosco, but I'm not sure.
No. Warwick Davis. Dante Bosco was the.
Yeah.
He was the
Dante
cadet.
was on there too. Yeah, Warwick, who was actually an Ewok in episode 6.
Right.
He's been in Harry Potter, Willow, a bunch of stuff.
Yeah. He's a Lucasfilm staple. So he is an alien assassin for Thrawn. This character actually appeared in the Thrawn book trilogy by Timothy Zahn. So it was a nice return for this character. So basically, the Ghost Crew is back on Lothal, and they've stolen the hyperdrive and the flight recorder of the TIE Defender prototype. They're trying to get it back to to the Rebel base on Yavin. Of course, Lothal has that Imperial blockade, and now Rukh has been called in to track down the Ghost Crew. The Ghost Crew, they find those Loth Wolves who are able to get them to the other side of the Lothal hemisphere.
Which, by the way, those things are so awesome. I love those things. Those things are so cool.
Somehow they've mastered teleportation with their force powers. These Jedi, the Jedi Loth Wolves.
And can I say too, I just love hearing Clancy Brown on here. I really do. He's one of my favorite voice actors.
He plays Ryder, who was I guess he was a former, like the former governor of Lothal, but he was deposed after the Empire came in, and he was a friend of Kanan's parents. Clancy, did you know Clancy Brown was in Thor Ragnarok? Did we talk about that last week?
I want to say
he played Surtur.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
he was Surtur in Thor Ragnarok. So basically, here was the big thing in the Kindred episode 4.7. We had Hera and Kanan finally kissed for the first time on the show. I don't think it's the first time they've actually kissed in the story.
Yeah.
This is the first time we saw it, though. How'd you like that?
That was pretty cool to finally see. There's especially, I think in that episode, there's 2 times when it almost happened, but then it didn't because they got almost blocked pretty much. Nope, sorry, we have to go do this. It's you bastards.
But come on.
Tell her, you guys suck.
Come on, Jay. You talk about death flag. That is the ultimate death flag, though. I just feel like they keep building to the fact that some of these characters are going to be dead soon. Especially Kanan. I mean, what more do you...
Now, about this, did you hear, because I heard this where they say that Grand Admiral Thrawn actually survives after Rogue One somehow. Did you hear this?
I've never heard this.
Yeah, this was a story that came out this week, too. They said Grand Admiral Thrawn will live past Rogue One somehow. How? I have no idea.
I don't know how people can say that. We've seen no evidence of that yet. All we've seen evidence that Hera will live past Rogue One. That's all we've seen. Hera and Chopper.
But what if Thrawn did the same thing that frickin' Darth Maul did, where he goes into hiding?
Well, why would he do that?
Because he wants to survive. Because Darth Maul did that because he's I want to find Obi-Wan and frickin' survive. So he hid away for what? How many years did he hide away for, Darth Maul?
Let me think. 20 years, I guess.
Yeah, so Just like how, like, Yoda and Obi-Wan did that.
Or close to 20.
If Thrawn wanted to, he probably could find a way to make himself disappear.
Let me see. I think here's Thrawn survived Rogue One. Here's the story. This might be the story you're referring to on MovieWeb.
It probably is.
Here's what Filoni had to say. The character takes shape around the voice. He is dedicated to getting it right. He understands that the character is important. His character outlived his brothers, who's in Rogue One, which is, I don't know if, I guess he's saying Thrawn will survive Galen Erso in Rogue One. I guess that's what that means. Interesting. Honestly, we don't even, this season, we don't know how it will line up with Rogue One, or if it will even go past Rogue One, because the baseline is here. Because Rogue One basically ends right like 5 minutes before the start of episode 4, right?
Correct.
So the assumption is this season would end before Rogue One starts. But we don't even know. We don't even know where the show is going to end. Technically, the show could end past Rogue One if they wanted to, but we have no idea.
True. And I also like seeing Agent Callus now on the side of good, and David Yellow voicing him. I just love that. It's great.
Yeah, he is great on this show. But I got to be honest. I think the kiss between Hera and Kanan is an obvious sign that Kanan's about to die in the next, I don't know, by the end of the show.
You know how I think most of the people probably will die? Because we're already hearing little whispers of the Death Star. They're not saying it, but they're saying they're making this weapon. I think when they wanted one of the planets and with Saw Gerrera, that was like, because it was that same planet where we saw the plans for it, right?
We didn't see plans. They had a kyber crystal.
We didn't, but there was an episode, and I think it was this season, or maybe toward the end of last season.
It was last season. Like they were.
But that was the same planet.
They were on Geonosis.
That was the same
from
planet.
Attack of the Clones.
Yeah, but that was
the end. Had the plans for the Death Star. That's where they started building.
But didn't it one time they were trying to say that was where it's being built? It turned out not to be true.
I think that's where it was being built, or that's where they developed plans for it to be built.
Okay, so we've already kind of heard whispers. Okay. So because remember we saw in Rogue One, the Death Star doesn't necessarily have to blow up a planet. It can. They're just testing it. They could just destroy like a city. So if most of the cast, except of course Chopper and Hera somehow, were like on the Ghost or something, and they survive, but everybody else dies.
Right.
Star's hand. That would make sense to me.
That would be a pretty big downer for the show.
I'm not saying it wouldn't be, but remember how Rogue One ended was a downer. They didn't want to end it that way, but they had to. They had to. So it's like they probably don't want to kill these characters anymore.
When we first see the Death Star in Rogue One, it hasn't been finished yet. They're just.
I thought it was finished.
No, well, when we first see it in Rogue One, they're assembling it with the super laser. They're inserting that super laser, but it still wasn't done.
But when they did the first test, they're like, we don't need to blow up the
first test was on Jeddah. Was on the planet Jeddah.
True. Now, what if it were possible? Because we know that's what killed Saw, right?
Right.
What if it was possible the rest of them were in that city? We didn't see them in the movie, because that would be a way to do it. Where because like what's interesting about Star Wars lately, in a few of them, because it was true for Force Awakens, and it was true for Rogue One. They don't want to kill certain characters, but they know they have to for continuity. They know they have to.
Right.
And that would be a way, at least to me, that would make sense for, Kanan and Ezra and the character that Stephen Bloom voices. I can't remember his name ever. Zeb. And like Sabine, like them all dying. That'd just be something like they couldn't control. They couldn't stop something like that from happening.
No. They're not going to be on Jeddah.
Well, then how would you want them to die then, where it would make sense?
Well, look, Lothal is Ezra's home planet, so I think everything they're saying, it seems to be like points are converging on Lothal, and I think that's where the end game is going to play out.
Didn't they escape Lothal at the end of Kindred?
No, Hera did. Hera got off of Lothal and back to Yavin to get the hyperdrive.
So if you were going to make
what they did was they escaped to the other side of the hemisphere, the other end of the planet. They didn't escape.
If you were to make a prediction, you think they might lose their lives on Lothal. Is that what you're saying?
I think they will heroically lose their lives, possibly liberating Lothal from the Empire's grip, is what I would predict.
You know, now that I think about it, them losing it on Lothal, because of how bad things are on Lothal, and they even showed on Kindred, the reach of the Empire is getting stronger on that planet. So it'd be so crazy where it gets so strong where they can't fight him anymore and they have to end their lives. And again, Hera and Chopper get off, but that's it.
Right. I think there are going to be some major sacrifices in the show. So basically, moving on to Crawler Commanders. Here's the last thing in Kindred. Like, Kanan has a moment with this Lothwolf. That's apparently strong in the Force, and it says Doom, and Kanan reveals that Doom is his real name, Caleb Doom. But
it was cool.
But is the wolf really talking about his name or DOOM?
I think you said last week it was his name.
He said it. Well, he did, but it could have a double meaning. Who knows?
Maybe. I mean, but now that I really think about it, I think that Lothal may be where they'll all meet their end, except for, of course, Hera and Chopper, who aren't on there now anyway.
So now Crawler Commandeers, they've stolen a mining guild ore crawler. Hera is trying to get the Rebel Alliance to help them out on Lothal to destroy the TIE Defender. They don't really have they're jamming everything. So now they're trying to coordinate an assault on the surface of Lothal. It's not looking good for the Ghost Crew.
Well, this device was crazy because it was literally scorching the Earth away. It was crazy to see it, just how much damage it was doing to a part of the planet, right?
Right. And other Star Wars films, we didn't really get a good look at exactly what the Empire was doing on other planets. Here we can see they're just stripping planets of their resources and just.
We kind of did in Rogue One a little bit, but only.
In Rogue One, we saw the prison mining colony, but I mean, in the older movies, in the original trilogy and the prequels, we don't really see how the Empire. It's basically just mining and stripping planets of materials and raw materials, just stripping them of their resources. So we get a look at that. I thought that was interesting.
It was kind of cool. They run into an old friend. That was kind of cool.
They saved Vizago, who helped them get to the planet. So I don't know. I just get this sense from these two episodes, Jay. There's just a big sense of dread to me that people are about to die.
Just the only real dread to me for it is just it was like when they first went back. Just it was such a shock at how bad things had gotten on Lothal. It was really a shock how in a 1-2 year period things went from where they were to how they are now. So that's the only real dread I feel for it. Because the nice thing is the episode, they finally go, okay, the rebellion's going to come and going to try to help us. So that was kind of a little bright light for me. I thought was kind of nice.
So here's something I like. The next episode of the series is called Rebel Assault. Fans will recognize that name. There was a Star Wars video game released on Sega CD and computers called Star Wars Rebel Assault. There's also Rebel Assault 2. So a classic Star Wars shooter. So I think that's pretty cool.
I do.
The next episode after that is Allegiance and One Giant Step Ahead. I hope what Rebel Assault means is there's going to be a big battle on Lothal.
Well, how it ended, doesn't it sound like that's the way it'd go next?
Yeah. I think they're building toward there's going to be a. So I hope the next episode is just a nonstop drag out, like a Rogue One-esque climax battle. It's kind of what I'm hoping for in the next episode. This season, I think, has been pretty good so far. What do you think?
I do. I definitely like it because one thing that is clear about this season so far, dread or no dread, is things are definitely worse than they were in the previous seasons. You know, the Empire is getting stronger. They're becoming a bigger threat, not just on Lothal, but the galaxy in general. And even though the Rebel Alliance is getting stronger and forming more, they're realizing there's just like, because you can see on this episode, like you see, like, you know, we're like, hey, we want to do this, but we also don't want to destroy the Rebel Alliance entirely, because there was one battle they went into where they lost a lot of people, a lot of ships, and they're still kind of reeling from that battle.
Well, they were basically ambushed and taken by surprise by Thrawn's forces.
True, and I think they're afraid of that happening again because, like you see, like Mon Mothma's kind of like, look, we want to help you, but we also don't want to frickin' get ambushed again. We want to make sure that, you know, if we go in there, we'll get out in one piece, right?
Right. Well, Lothal is an Imperial hub, and they're pretty well fortified down there too. So it would be tough for them. Yeah. They would need some help from the Mandalorians if they were to, I think, try something. True. And so, all right. So moving on from that, what are the movies you saw this week that you wanted to talk about?
Well, I saw two, and I'll talk about the bad one first, and I'll talk about the good one.
What was the bad one?
So, Daddy's Home 2. So what happened? And here's
the long-awaited sequel.
But here's the thing about Daddy's Home 2 that's interesting for me.
Yeah.
When I saw, like the first movie, not a bad movie. I thought it was good. It wasn't hilarious. I didn't laugh till it hurt, but I liked it.
First movie. Yeah.
I liked it. And so when I saw the first trailer for the sequel, I was like excited. I was like, hey, this is great. They're going to do the grandpa thing. We're going to have Mel Gibson be the real tough around the edges guy. Then we're going to have John Lithgow be the very touchy-feely guy. Okay, fine. Seemed like not a bad concept at first, right? And it seemed to be like it could be not a bad sequel. Then when I watched another trailer where it revealed, hey, John Cena's in it and all this stuff.
Well, he was in the first movie.
Yeah, but at the very end. He didn't have as big a role as in this one.
Right.
And so...
How big is his role in this movie?
Much bigger.
Okay.
And basically... So when I saw the second trailer, I'm like, I don't know if it's going to be good or not, but, you know, I was going to see it for free. So I saw it at a screening, so I was like, I'll give it a shot. And I see enough comedies now where I you know, only a few are good because most are like, let's just go for laughs, silly laughs, insane situations, ridiculous stuff, you know, swearing, fighting, you know, gross stuff, things like that. And this movie falls in the category of just, it tries too hard to be funny. That's really at its core what's the problem with this movie. You know, like Mel Gibson is just a freaking SOB the whole way through to where he's very, very, very unlikable. To where even Mark Wahlberg in the first one wasn't perfect, but he wasn't this despised throughout. He just wasn't. You know, Mel Gibson's character.
You never grow to like Mel Gibson's character in this movie. He's totally despicable.
It's really hard to. In the end, he redeemed himself a little bit, but it's really hard to, because basically what his role is in this movie is he sees, you know, what Will Ferrell's character and Mark Wahlberg's character are kind of friends. They're working well with like this whole co-dad thing, and he doesn't like it one bit. And he doesn't like John Lithgow one bit. And it's just like he's just like someone who's like just trying to bring disorder and chaos pretty much around. And whenever something goes wrong, he thinks it's great and hilarious. And pokes him with a stick, pretty much.
Now, I'm a big WWE fan. I like John Cena. What is his function in the film?
Basically, what he is in this one is at the end of the first film, you remember Mark Wahlberg.
He's
gets with a woman who has a daughter, and John Cena's the dad of the daughter.
Right.
And in this movie, what's kind of ridiculous about him,
there are like three blended families, basically. And
what's ridiculous about this movie is one reason it even comes into the movie is because eventually, you know, Mark Wahlberg and Will Ferrell start kind of having some, you know, like issues, right?
Right.
And so to get back at Mark Wahlberg and to make him feel bad, he calls John Cena pretty much, you know, her dad, and says, yeah, spend Christmas with us. So Mark Wahlberg's like, what is this guy doing here? I don't like this guy. This guy clearly doesn't like me. He doesn't want me trying to raise his daughter at all.
Right.
I raise his daughter because I'm the stepdad now. I'm not the dad, right? I'm the stepdad.
Okay.
So John Cena comes in basically just like, as this big tough guy who's like, I'm your dad, and this guy's just, an imposter. So it's
Does he
kind of like
get
the
along
first
with
film,
Mel Gibson?
and it's kind of like the first film all over again. It's the
Does
same thing
John
happened.
Cena's character get along with Mel Gibson?
He doesn't really get along with much anybody either because he's just the big tough exterior guy the whole way through, for most part, right?
Is John
And
Cena not funny at all?
no, I didn't think so. I didn't think he
Okay.
was. And there's one scene toward the end where they're all stuck in a movie theater and they see this really bad Liam Neeson movie, and then the power goes out and they do this whole Christmas time has come again musical number that's okay, but it's just one of those movies that goes, try to get that Christmas money. And the last few Christmas movies I've seen, like Bad Santa 2 was okay, but not as good as the first one. Almost Christmas was okay, but not an amazing movie. Like Love the Coopers was okay, but again, not an amazing Christmas. So they try to do all these movies, be like these really good Christmas movies, and most of the time it just doesn't work. And this is another example of
It's
that.
hard, Jay. It's hard to live up to the best Christmas movie of all time, which is, of course, the classic Die Hard.
I actually think examples of good Christmas movies recently was Elf was actually a surprise hit. I like that one a lot more than I thought I would.
Elf is an old movie, though. Come on.
I'm not saying it's not. But there are like once in a while they do something right and it is really good, but they
Elf
try
came out like 13 years ago.
But still, they try every year to get that lightning in a bottle, and it just most of the time just falls flat. And this is an example of that, sadly.
All right, so the other one was Lady Bird. This one was written and directed by Greta Gerwig, stars Saoirse Ronan.
And Laurie Metcalf.
And let's see, Odeya Rush, Laurie Metcalf, yeah. So tell us your thoughts on this film.
So this movie was interesting because it's mostly all shot in Sacramento, right? It takes place in I think 2002.
Right.
It's your basic coming of age story. She goes to a Catholic high school. She's
Would you describe this as a comedy or a drama?
I would say it's more drama, but there is comedy sprinkled in there.
Okay.
There is. And so it's a basic coming of age story where, she's like, hey, I live in Sacramento. I'm tired. I don't want to live in Sacramento. It's not an entertainment hub, which truthfully it kind of is, kind of isn't. But of course, New York and LA and those places are bigger entertainment hubs than here, just the reality.
Do you think this film was autobiographical at all for the director, Greta Gerwig?
I don't know. But what I really liked about
this movie.
But what I really liked about this film was the characters are very likable. Heck, the character Christine Ladybird is very relatable. She's very relatable. I mean, what person in high school as a senior, hasn't been in her shoes in certain parts of this movie, right?
Right.
Where she wants to go to another college. She knows her family can't afford it, but she really wants to.
She wants to get out of her. She wants to get out of her town, basically.
And set up her own future and her own path, her own direction. And being in a Christian high school, she's never had a boyfriend before. She's never had sex before. She's
strict upbringing,
so she wants to break out of her shell, and experience and just explore the world, right? That's what she wants to do, right? And her mom is a realist. Her dad, that got fired. Her mom works her fingers to the bone, and it's like I thought it was just like the characters are so likable and so relatable. I mean, Christine is just an amazing character. Her dad is a really good character. She's got some teachers that are really good characters, and it's just, even though it's just really kind of a simple coming of age story premise, it really blew my mind. It was probably the first one in a while where I gave a 10 out of 10 to it. I was just like, I could say nothing bad about it. There was not one bad thing I could say about the movie.
Do you think this film will get any awards recognition?
I think it will. I do, because it's one of those rare films where it doesn't have to be like this giant explosive showboaty thing, and gargantuan cast and gargantuan budget. It doesn't have those things.
IndieWire is calling the film a serious Oscar contender.
I think it's got potential. I do.
Did well. It apparently did well at Telluride. So, do you think best actress for Saoirse Ronan at all, or?
I think so. It was funny. After I saw it, someone reminded me she was in Brooklyn, and she was really good in that.
She's been in quite a few films. She was in, I think, Peter Jackson's The Lovely Bones. Remember that one?
I didn't see that one, but I did see Brooklyn. And Brooklyn, I remember I actually liked a lot. I saw like 2
She was
3
in
times,
The Host. Hannah was her other, I think, one that did well.
Mm-hmm.
And she was also in Atonement. That's an older. That one's about 10 years old. That one
Yeah.
did very well. That's
Yeah, so I think this one is going to be an Oscar contender because, like, this is like the first one in a while. I tell everybody you need to go see this movie. You just need to go see it. It's worth seeing. It's worth
okay.
paying to see. And I think almost all, like, I wouldn't say little kids should see it per se,
All
but I
right.
could say that most everybody
Like
should see it and they'll enjoy
teenagers
it and relate with it.
like young teens can
Yeah,
see and enjoy it probably, right?
yeah, absolutely,
All right.
absolutely.
Now, okay.
It's just like it is just one of those rare lightning in a bottle films that, like the last film I felt this way was probably Zootopia. It's where
Wow.
you left here, it's like, man, this was
I mean,
just.
Zootopia, and you know what? I understand that because Zootopia was a really great, like, feel-good
Mhm.
movie. You know what I mean?
And
It was
I remember Zootopia. It created like its own world and its own
yeah.
characters and all this amazing stuff, and did a story in that world. And that's what this does. It
Okay.
has, even though it's in Sacramento, it's got this world of, like, girl, Catholic upbringing, Catholic high school, co-ed high school, and the film, like, is kind of the coming of age story goes on in that world. So yeah.
All right. So on my end, I saw Murder on the Orient Express this week. So this is a classic murder mystery novel by Agatha Christie, featuring the great detective Hercule Poirot.
Mhm.
So the movie was directed and stars Kenneth Branagh as
Okay.
he's the director and he plays the detective Hercule Poirot. So he's
Mhm.
traveling to get to his next case through the Middle East and Western Asia
Mhm.
on the Orient Express, and so it's a very cramped confines, and there's a group of people on board. There's a murder, so
Okay.
he has until basically uh, the, sh- uh, the train is stopped due to snowfall. So he has until the snowfall is cleared and the train gets moving again
Mhm.
to identify the killer, uh, of which it could be anyone.
And
Um,
this film was remade a few times, right? There's been a
This
few
film,
versions of this
it's
film,
been
right?
adapted. There have been a number of adaptations. There was a 1974 Sidney Lumet. I think it's been adapted on TV multiple times.
Mhm.
And Poirot has been played by a number of different actors. Alfred Molina played him on TV in one version. Albert Finney in 1974 for the Sidney Lumet. Peter Ustinov, and I think another actor, David Suchet.
And this was a really star-studded affair, this version, right?
Yeah,
It's
so
got like
basically,
an
yeah,
insane amount
you
of
have
stuff.
Johnny Depp playing one character. You have Daisy Ridley from Star Wars. You have Josh Gad.
Mhm.
Josh Gad in a very good, just straight dramatic role.
Mhm. Mhm.
Judi Dench, Michelle Pfeiffer. So you have A-list cast in this film.
Mhm. And it's got like Willem Dafoe and
Willem
who else,
Dafoe
right?
is in it as well. He's one of the passengers aboard the train. So you have a
Mhm.
star-studded cast. You have a classic story that's been retold a number of times. Now, despite that, it looks fantastic. It's very well shot, and it was shot on a 65 millimeter film. So it really kind of takes you back to that kind of like old,
Okay.
like classic cinema style, and it looks gorgeous. The locations look amazing, and I like that it kind of it definitely immerses you into 1934. It brings you back to that time period. The actors all do a good job. I think some of the characters are a little underwritten, um, and I think Brannick is good as Poirot,
Mhm.
but I think some characters don't get as much screen time as they should.
Mhm.
And overall, I thought it was good. I would say don't run out to see it in theaters. Maybe watch it on Netflix, video on demand, Redbox, but give it a look at some point. I think even if, especially if you don't know anything about the story at all, I think
Mhm.
it's a good way to watch it. I would say, is it better than the 1974 theatrical film? No, but I think it's a decent take, and I enjoyed it.
Mhm.
It wasn't too long. It was fairly well paced, and it had some fun scenes in it. And it looked. I just like it. I just like films that kind. There, it looks romantic.
Mhm.
It looks. It kind of just looks romantic and nostalgic, and I like films that kind of that look kind of like a film, and it kind of transports you to another place in time. And I thought Murder on the Orient Express did that well. Some good performances by the cast. Daisy Ridley is good in the film. Josh Gad, I thought, really impressed me overall. So, decent movie. Maybe you don't have to see it in theaters, but I would recommend watching it somewhere down the line, Jay. All right. So before we go out this week, I wanted to give my little product spotlight this week. So basically, this is not a sponsored product. This is a product I bought and I want to recommend. So you know the SNES Classic Edition, the Super Nintendo Classic Edition. I own one of those, Jay, but my problem is that the cords on the controllers are still too short for my TV setup. So I need a good wireless controller. So I had some courtesy credit from Amazon because they kept messing up the shipping of my order. So with that, I was able to get this for free.
Nice.
So this is the wireless fighting commander from Hori. Hori is a very good, I think, third-party accessory maker for video games. They've been making controllers and what have you for really decades. So this is a wireless one they did for the SNES Classic. It's an officially licensed controller, so it comes in a box, basically an officially licensed Nintendo box that looks just like the SNES Classic. And so here's the controller up close. It's a wireless controller for the SNES Classic. Now, it's received a bit of controversy. I would highly recommend it because, one, it's wireless. It runs on batteries, so that's, it runs on AA's, so, that's not too bad. I wish it was rechargeable, but, AA batteries aren't a deal breaker for me. What I love about it, it's got a good bit of weight to it. Here's why I like it. It's got a 6-button setup. It still has the shoulder buttons, but it has the 6 buttons. It has A, B, and X, Y, but it also has L and R right on the face. And it works very well for Street Fighter Turbo. And it also has the turbo switches, so you can switch any of the buttons to a faster turbo setting if you want. So basically, if you're looking for a good wireless controller for your SNES Classic Edition, I would recommend the Hori Fighting Commander. Works great for me. And it's really just because those controller cords are way too short. Even though they made the controller cords longer than the NES Mini, they're still too short for me. So this is, I think, the best wireless controller for the SNES Classic, the Hori Fighting Commander. This is not a sponsored product. It's a product I like and I own, and I would recommend that you buy it if you own that console. So, yeah.
Okay.
All right, so I'm Jeffrey Harris. You can check out my reviews of Thor Ragnarok and also Murder on the Orient Express. Go to 411mania.com. Jay, where can people find you online?
You can find me at the Good Men Project, the Arts and Entertainment section. There you can find my review of Lady Bird and Daddy's Home 2, and of course Thor Ragnarok. And also next week, keep an eye out for, we will be doing Justice League. We should be doing The Punisher as well, right? That should be doing as well.
Yeah, it comes out the same day.
And also, we will be able to talk about Big Hero 6, the series. They said that, starting the 13th, we can talk about that. So we can talk about that next week, too. Spoiler-free, but we can talk about it.
All right. So, basically,
and a couple other things, of course.
Tune into our channel next week because we will, I think we'll go ahead and we'll do a spoiler cast for Justice League, right?
Absolutely.
We're going to do a spoiler cast for Justice League next week, so be on the lookout for that, everybody. This is Hollywood Purgatory, where the entertainment industry goes to get judged. So, everyone, thank you and good night. And go Houston Astros.
Yes.